Grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifter's Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and today I wanted to bring on James Strickland, most known for his insane raw bench press, but looking at his own powerlifting, has actually put together a really nice total as well. Why don't you introduce yourself?
What's up, everybody? James here. I appreciate you guys having me on. I really appreciate it.
So to get started, I like to get a little bit of a background on kind of what got everyone into powerlifting, maybe some of the influences, maybe you had a sports background, or just kind of what got you onto the platform.
So honestly, I just kind of fell into it. I started gaining some weight after I stopped swimming. I started training with kind of a local powerlifter. Wasn't even a powerlifter. He was just a strong guy that was benching, which I didn't even know until after I met him. He was like a 450, 500-pound bencher. And I didn't know that was special because I was at like 300 at the time, and I was, early 20s, mid-20s, and I was just like, I kind of want to start putting some muscle on because I'm starting to get all this fat from swimming. And if I can offset the look that I had, because I've always been concerned about physique. I like want to look good. I want to kind of that superhero look, but I want to be super freaking strong. But I don't want a fat stomach going around. I want, some abs if I can, but obviously there's a lot of discipline that goes with that. But when I stopped swimming, I got fat. I was like, hell no. So I just started working out like anywhere I could. And this guy's like, this is the body that I kind of want, and not in a creepy way, but just more like, hey, if this guy's got it, he can teach me how to get it. And I'm willing to work hard. So then he was like, hey, I can train you for $400 a month or whatever. I'm like, I don't have any money, man. So I ended up just kind of like trading out some stuff and just working off some stuff here and there, but just got it done and just started lifting. And it was a group of us, maybe 10 of us that were pretty regular. And we just kind of bench on Mondays and just started a schedule of routinely getting together. And over time, I just got freaking really hellishly strong. And I didn't even know it. Like I was chasing down 400 before I knew it. Yeah. Literally like the first month that I was in training, I was already almost at 400. And That's just because I have a gift of bench. But there's another cat that was training with me who was a running back for one of the local high schools that had just graduated. And he was just kind of messed up because he was really trying to get into the college scene and like the NFL, try out somehow like an agency or something. And I'm like, are you crazy, bro? No, nobody makes the NFL like that. He's like, dude, there's freaking free agent combines. You can go, you can pay, you get a spot, and they give you the tryout. And sure enough, we went up to one and I drove him up there. It was like maybe 5 hours away. And I was basically just going to be his wingman for the day and go cheer him on. And as he's signing in at the registration table, the guys looked at me like, holy shit, man, what are you playing? I'm like, I don't play, man. I just lift. He's like, what's your bench, bro? I'm like, it's like 550. And I was trying to hold that because I didn't know if that was good or not at the time. So I was like, yeah, everybody that I've said like 500 or plus, they freak out. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with them? Like, that's not that big of a deal. Like, the world record's like 1,000, isn't it? And this was when I was naive and had no clue about equip lifting. I had no idea about powerlifting. I just laying down and picking up a freaking barbell. And basically, I just got kind of sucked into the sport. But what's my train of thought there? I'm trying to shorten this up as much as possible because I can go on forever about how I started. But essentially, when I was training with this guy, fast forward just a little bit, did the combines, started training with this guy some more. He was a 450-pound bencher. So we were going back and forth, like 450, 475, the natural progression, 470. Oh, who's going to get 500 first? And freaking nailed it. And then it was like 505. And then I was sitting at 550 for 6 months or something, which, I mean, I'm not complaining, but I was like 550. And all of a sudden one day I just went in and I smashed the hell out of 555. And the guy I was training with, he goes, bro, you're sick, man. You're going to be at 575 in like 3 months, bro. I'm like, do you think so? And I didn't really believe it. I was just like, that's a crap ton of weight. Yeah. I was already struggling with what I had already. Not struggling, but it just wasn't easy. It was looking easy because I was perfecting my technique and really getting some of the things down that I had no idea what I was doing at the time. And I would just go and be consistent about working out and always putting 5 pounds more, or at least doing the same thing and just perfecting the weight, making it faster, doing something a little different to make it easier than what it was last time. So it was just literally just simple progressive overload. So literally nothing has changed from that day until now. It's just not as easy to say, oh, I'm just going to go a straight line up and just get better all the time. It's kind of hard to get better when you start getting close to 700 damn pounds on a bench.
Yeah. And then I guess one of my questions for you is, obviously, like you said, progressive overload. I think a lot of people use that, and it's pretty much proven to work. But when you were kind of going up the ranks and bench that quickly, were you kind of going high on volume? Like, was volume like a very high thing for you? Because I know a lot of people get a lot more out of bench volume than they would like a squat volume to increase their squat.
Yeah, I think the best thing that you can do when you're trying to increase anything is just make sure your volume or your technique are on point, because you're not really going to get any stronger going in and doing singles. Now, mind you, if you're already that type of strong, then that's a different story, because that stimulus that you're getting your CNS under, and you've got that muscle memory from doing 500 pounds for reps for your whole life, literally. And then all of a sudden you go to 600. That's 600 for one is going to give you a lot of workout. Then somebody trying to struggle and maybe their best is 405, they go and try to hold 500 for a split second. That's not going to do anything for them, not in terms of progressive overload. But yeah, I just it was hard and fast, and literally I didn't know what the hell was happening. I didn't hit the brakes at all, and I was just like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I just went up, and I've got all this stuff documented, and I didn't even look up from my consciousness of like focusing on what I was working on, like okay, I need to work on a 405 bench. Okay, I need a 455 bench. I need a 475 bench, until I was already in 600s. And like that was I would go to the YMCA, and I would try to use weights that people would recognize, because this was kind of before. This was like right at the cusp of YouTube becoming something, and people were posting stuff up, and if you posted a video that got 10,000 likes, it was viral. And that tasted pretty good when I posted up a couple of videos. I was like, oh, people like to see what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't know why. I'm just freaking lifting. Big deal. This is weird. And it was more guys that would lift out, that would reach out than the women, which to each their own. But I was like, dude, honey, look what I did today. I freaking did 500 for 2. She's like, that's crazy. Whatever. Yeah. So big deal. You did that last week, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, I did 495 for 2. This is 500 for 2. She's like, well, big whoop. Like, are you freaking strong? Okay, great. You're stronger than anybody I know. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So then I started getting the bug. I was like, how does it feel to be the strongest in the whole world and like literally pick up more than anybody ever has? And then I started learning about weight classes. And then that's when I really pressed it and started going out for like different meets and saying, okay, if I can get this particular weight under this weight condition or this class. And then I started chasing trophies. And I discourage that because it's annoying to see new lifters do that now. But honestly, whatever gets you in the sport, whatever keeps you going and keeps you going, because I honestly probably would have quit after the first couple of meets had it not been trophies. I mean, let's just be honest. I hate the mentality of everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, if it kept me around, then there was some merit to it. So it was more like, okay, if there's more divisions, I'll enter $5 extra to get that trophy. And if I knew I was going to get it, I'm kind of playing my game. So, I do what I want. But
yeah, this is it's actually funny that you bring that up, because me and my friend group kind of were having this conversation not too long ago about, I mean, obviously powerlifting, you're there to get a total, you're there to get your total stronger, but we were kind of talking about like best lifter awards, and kind of one person was saying that like if you get a best lifter award, it doesn't mean anything unless you're setting a world record, because you're not truly the best lifter. But and then we were kind of talking about as well how obviously you're there to try to win, but your main goal is to hit a PR total and increase your total. So we were kind of talking about how maybe not necessarily making changes to like your planned attempts based on whether or not you're going to win the meet or not.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to hear what your thoughts on that were. I mean, obviously you were in the mindset of kind of going for the trophy, but when you have a bench as big as that, it's kind of, at a local meet, you should be winning any meet anyways.
Yeah. Honestly, my thing was just, I just wanted to play whatever game they were playing, just because it felt good to kind of be up there to get a medal around your neck. And it slowly went away as I started learning about, okay, this is not an alt. I went to a local meet in Austin, Texas, about 3 hours away from here. And this was after I'd already been to like a couple of APF meets, different federations. I didn't even know really what the difference was at the time. I had honestly an Excel spreadsheet. I think I still have it somewhere. And I had all the records from all the different federations that were like low hanging fruit, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, there was a few on there with like 525 and 530, which I don't mean to disrespect any of those guys. I won't name any of the names that were on the list, but some of them were world record holding guy, like freaking beasts that are of the powerlifting world today that were holding local records and then national records and the world records. And I was like it was literally like was it what's the movie Adam Sandler where the guy's calling everybody, he's checking them off the list because they treated him bad in high school.
Yeah. I can't think of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'll tell you. But that's literally, it was like sniping sheet. I was a checklist. Like, okay, this guy, I took him down this weekend. Oh, this guy, I took him down. This one, it's not quite through with. It wasn't open powerlifting at the time. It was another list that would do all like Michael Song's list, and there was a different database early on. And I was always looking at that and say, okay, who's got the all-time record for this? And not naturally, those records were higher. And I always like, oh crap, there's no way I'm going to bench 660 pounds. Like I didn't even think about it. So I was like, low-hanging fruit. I got a 600-pound bench in the gym, which means I might be at 550-ish in a meet. So I started looking at meets where I could go and take those records down. And so that's what really got me to train, because I was like, ooh, snipe that record down. Ooh, take this record down. And then I could be like, oh, I got 6 world records this weekend. And I was that annoying guy who would post us stupid stuff up. But at the end of the day, again, it's embarrassing to say that, but it was a learning experience. It was something that kept me in the sport. And honestly, anybody that's doing it right now, shout out to them, because maybe the next time that you do something, you're going to be this freaking phenom. But
yeah. And then, so I know your best bench in competition was 672.4. Want to just remind everybody what your best total was?
Let's see, what was it? 21. I got to think about that for a second. 2190.
Okay.
2192. 2193. My God, it's been a while.
Yeah. So yeah. I think, like I said, you're obviously like very well known for just having that monster bench, but that's still like a very large total and something that is, I mean, you see totals over 2,200 and stuff more common nowadays just because there's some freaks out there, but that's not a total to scoff at. And looking at your open powerlifting, like you had a very good deadlift and squat as well. So
I appreciate it. Yeah. It's fun for sure.
So, like you said, bench was kind of your thing, and it was kind of, that's something I noticed that kind of in the social media world, it's kind of one of those things that when you're almost a bench specialist, I say that term loosely because you're pretty well-rounded on the other lift as well, but it seems like bench gets more of that traction, and it seems like you were able to kind of capitalize on that. So maybe talk about some of your experience of kind of when you realized that was what was going to help you get your name out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so when I started actually putting my stuff out on social media, like literally the moment it happened, you can go back on my YouTube channel, Swimhack, and just search for like Swimhack 605. It was like the 4th time that I had attempted over 600 pounds on video to prove to the world, essentially all the trolls out there that were saying, oh, that's fake weight, that was my gallant effort at saying, this is real. Like, hear the weights, see them move. I'll do every angle you want. I'll show you different places where you can verify, okay, this is 24-hour fitness, or this is, standard play. This is from Walmart. This is kind of sketchy, whatever. Because the first couple of times that I did the 600 were like heavily spotted, spotters' arms on the bar. Because I was out in the gym with freaking my bros. Nobody wanted me to die. Like, exactly. 600 freaking pounds. Like, you take the strongest guys in your whole city, and they still are like, I don't know if I want to spot that out. And there's me in like a closed setting garage where you can literally look at my first YouTube videos. I've got them all up there, just like a chronological order. And it's me doing the first time I ever did 555, and the first time I ever did like 575, and my butt's coming up off the bench. But it's not powerlifting, so I didn't care. I was just moving the weight.
Yeah.
But that's around the time that I started going, I'm something special. Like, and my ego started growing at that point. Because at first it was like, I just do what I'm told, and oh crap, I've got a bigger chest, I'm stronger, my triceps are stronger than everybody around me, I can do weights that nobody else is doing. I didn't go, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, because all y'all are hoes. I just was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, my muscles are strong. When I lay down on the bench, I can put 500 pounds above my head, and I don't give a crap. I just move it. Like, I didn't care that the weight was what it was. And I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but we'll get back, touch on this a little bit. But that neurological hacking that I had almost like by default was my cheat code. And I say was for a reason, but it's like when I would do these things, I didn't know that moving 500 pounds as fast as I did was ungodly. Like, the best of the world don't even do that. And I didn't even know what that meant until I was 3 or 4 meets into powerlifting, when I was talking to literally some of the best lifters ever to walk the planet. When I was talking to guys like Ed Cohen, Stan Efferding, let's see, Ryan Kennelly, big bench, like big monster guys, like the Larry Wheels of the world in the era that I'm talking about.
Yep.
And like these guys were looking at me going, dude, you're a freaking freak. You know that, bro. And I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, what's your name? My name's Ed. I got a freaking 2,400 total. I'm like, holy, like, and you're looking up at me, you know, and guys like at the USP Expo, Bill Kazmaier, a strongman, he was commenting on one of my, this was before I broke 600. It was one of my first meets. And it was like 590 bench. It was my PR at the time, or 589 point something and some change. And he was like, this guy's a technician. He's like talking, and I got a video clip of it. And he's like, this guy right here, James Strickland, he's a freaking technician. Look how perfect. Like, he's flawless. And I'm like, who talks about any athlete like that from that pedestal? Like that means something. Like, you don't just waste words like that. And so naturally I was like, yeah, I can like this. I like this. Like, I'm walking around this expo and people think I'm famous because I'm doing these big things. And it felt good. It's like, I didn't know what being an influencer was, or like being in the public eye. I just was doing what I was doing, and I just put videos out on YouTube, and hundreds of thousands of people started liking them. It's like, great, you know who I am. That's cool. Watch what I do next week. I'm going to do like 100 pounds more.
Yeah.
And I would do it, and they're like, holy crap. This was the era that when everything was really popping for me. So I didn't know any different. I just kept pushing into it. And then, you know, I was doing bench because that's what I really was good at. And for me, it's easier just to do one thing and get really, really good at it. And I didn't have to squat, didn't have to deadlift. And honestly, I hated deadlifting. It's just heavy. But I just pushed into more and more and had a lot of fun with it. And before I knew it, I was so well known for bench. I started going, I need to really start making some money on this. Like, I'm spending a lot of time on this. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm technologically inclined. So I was like, I'm going to put out a program. And I put out a story. This was like when Stories was brand new. And I was like, is there anybody out there that would be interested even remotely in me giving selling a program for like $20? Yeah. And I was expecting crickets, like literally. I had like 300 people literally through like 30 minutes of dinner message me and say, dude, when are you coming out with it? I'll be the first one. I'm like, for what? Like, I'm just telling you, like, programs are everywhere. But what I was seeing is that the programs that are out there, they weren't really that good. They were just basic. And it was just like, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like the ChatGPT type stuff now, where people would just go, ooh, give me a program. I'll repackage it and sell it off for $10 or whatever. And they were just kind of throwing this stuff out there with no support. And I took a different approach, because I was like, if I'm going to put my name on something and say it works, it better freaking work. So I was like, I'm going to do a program myself and make sure it works. And then I'm going to sell that, because then I can put my word behind it. I can say, hey, look, in my best of my knowledge, it worked 100% for me. And obviously there's some outliers between me and the next guy. But for most people, if they run this program, it will give them results. And that's really what I wanted to create. And so I wanted to leave my mark on the sport and just say, look, I can put up a big number, and I can also help some people to get to the next level, just to get them stronger, because there's a lot of merit to being as strong as you possibly can. There's a lot of good stuff that can come from that, other than just putting up some phenomenal numbers and being a beast out there. But, you know, just having that self-confidence and just the willingness to go out there and put your best foot forward and kind of fall on your face sometimes, and really just shock some people when you actually come back and do some weird stuff. And the weird part is it came without a lot of effort. It seemed like on my part, it was just a natural ability to do this stuff. And for me, it's always been, you have this gift, don't abuse it, do the best you can with it. So I've always kind of taken a little more holistic approach to all my social media, how I present myself. It's not always, you know, liquor and booze and boobs and everything out there. It's more of a holistic father life versus like what a lot of my counterparts out there do. So
yeah, so we'll kind of touch on a few things from that. I think the first thing was saying how the mindset was kind of to your advantage. I think when you kind of don't really have an idea, not necessarily have an idea what's going on, but when you're literally just training and you can kind of turn your brain off, and you're like, all right, I'm just going to bench this, and I'm going to go up and weight. I'm going to keep training, and you shut off all that outside noise, and you allow yourself to actually get into that groove of training. It does wonders for your lifts.
Yep.
And then as far as the bench thing, I think from an outside perspective, I remember kind of back in the early day of when I started lifting, I remember seeing some of your bench videos, and at that time it was kind of a weight that was almost uncomprehendable to like a public eye, just being like, that's just so much weight that you don't actually truly realize how impressive of a lift it is. And I remember before I sent you a message to try to get you on here, I have a video that I sent you asking for some bench tips, and it was like 295 at the time. And I found that pretty funny, that and pretty cool that when you were kind of, I guess, in the spotlight, you're still able to reach out and kind of help some of these younger guys trying to get into it.
I appreciate that. That's really good feedback, because I say that all the time, and I really do want to be that guy who is able to talk to just about anybody. I mean, obviously life gets in the way, and it gets rough to answer every single person, but just to give you a feel for what I want to be like, I had a guy literally just message me. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but he DM'd me, and I think he's in the Netherlands, but he's been sending me basically a daily message for probably a year. And he just needs a friend, honestly, which, Harrison, shout out to you, man. But I'll send him like a daily selfie, or like just, a quick little muscle, just a, hey, I'm working out right now. This is what I'm working on. What are you working on? Just, give him the time of day. And he's been on some of the coaching stuff that I've had in the past. So I do appreciate that support, but that's not what I'm doing it for. But just to give you a feel, that's what I want for every one of my followers, to be able to reach out to me. Now, naturally, if every single one of you guys reach out, it's going to be almost impossible for me to get back to you, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
But I probably respond to 50 to 100 DMs a day that either I don't know who the heck they are at all, and they're brand new, or somebody who's a regular, if you will. So,
yeah. And I think that's great about powerlifting, is a lot of the people are very friendly, very welcoming, and very willing to help you out. And I think some of the people out there, even whether it's mid-level, high-level, or just getting started, I think kind of being able to collaborate minds like on this podcast and stuff like that is not only great for your personal growth, but great for growing the sport too.
For sure. I've just always been the type that I didn't like watching celebrities growing up, because, and it's even now, that's just because it's like they think their shit don't stink. It's like, because you're popular, it makes you better than somebody, or that you somehow, because you're influential, that makes you more important to somebody else, or that, like, I care what your political view is, or what shampoo you use, and all that kind of stuff. So the influencer life is really hard for me to lean into and go, oh yeah, I'll accept this, because I don't really want it. But it kind of comes with the territory. And touching on a little bit what we were talking about earlier, is when I started realizing that, I was like, this is kind of fun. Like, I got a lot of eyes on me. I like attention, and I'm doing something really cool that, I will purposely go to a gym now if I've got a big bench day, just to see if I can shock the crowd. And I'll go at like 5 o'clock. So it's like Monday, 5 o'clock, everybody's in there trying to squat, and I'm over here benching what their squat weight is. And they're just like, this guy over here. And I'll introduce myself, and, I'll just talk to them a little bit. And they're like, that's because I remember being that guy, but it was kind of a different sense. It was more like looking up to these guys, and then them telling me, hey, you're doing a good job. So, but honestly, now more than ever, like in the last couple of years of my life, and just some stuff that's going on personally and stuff, it's totally turned my perspective on a dime, where I literally, let's just put it this way, I had a stroke a couple of years back, and I haven't been able to go as heavy as I used to, for a lot of reasons. Physically, I have gotten weaker because I have slowed down what I'm eating. I've cleaned up my diet a lot. I honestly just lost a lot of motivation, because I was like, I hit a wall, and I'm like, God dang, I'm already trying to break 700 pounds, and I'm able 100% with a perfect brain. And that's tough. And that was tough just by itself. And then when I, found out, oh, you had a stroke, I'm like, what it took me months to actually accept it, because I was like, no way, there's no way I eat healthy. I didn't eat perfect, but I figured couple of Mexican food restaurants here and there is not that bad.
Yeah.
It obviously could be. And I then started kind of sulking about it, started kind of getting depressed and going, what the hell are you thinking, man? Like, you totally dropped the ball on your family. Like, you started chasing the dream of powerlifting when, not that that's what did it, but the lifestyle of being almost 300 pounds and solid muscle, eating a lot, lots of protein, just putting a lot of stress on your body. I mean, I get what the doctors were saying. I don't fully accept it because I'm hard-headed, and I'm like, no, if I clean my cholesterol, if I can, get my blood pressure taken care of, get a clean bill of health, no performance enhancements, no nothing that's going to get my blood pressure up or anything crazy, then I'll just go a holistic approach at this whole thing, because I can get pretty freaking strong without any of that stuff. I mean, I've been 600 natural, so I know I can get back to that point for an absolute fact. The only thing that I have going for me right now, obviously the fact that I'm a little older, and just the mindset is a little bit against me, because I don't have that fearless tenacity that I used to have all the time on tap. It's more like kind of a careful, is this the day I really want to go for 500 on bench? Yeah, I'll go 496.
Yeah.
And that, I used to be like, hell no, put 545 on that bitch. Let's go. So it's just a little bit different, but
yeah,
we're still having fun with it.
I think that's kind of something that I've noticed in my short time in the powerlifting world, is kind of the shift in not necessarily lack of intensity, but almost being more calculated and more looking at the long term of the sport, rather than, hey, let's just keep pushing this shit till the wheels fall off. It's more, hey, let's keep chipping away till we have a nice statue created out of it. And I think that has really helped kind of push the totem pole of just not only totals, but just, I mean, you see more and more people into their late 30s, 40s, even 50s now hitting PR totals that they were plateaued at in their 20s and 30s for years.
Yep.
And then I guess since the stroke and since your kind of last time competing, do you still have any plans to maybe get back onto the platform?
I'm going to just say yes. Now, mind you, I say that carefully, and it's not like I've got a goal date or anything like that, because I'm really just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's more of a neurological struggle, if you will, that it's just internalized.
Mm-hmm.
That it's hard to explain it. Honestly, I haven't really processed it enough to explain it on air. Like, hey, this is what I'm really going through. But it's just tough, where I'll get out and I don't have the motivation to go work out, which is normal.
Yeah.
But then I like what I've actually done that's really helped me. And this is not a shameless plug whatsoever. In fact, I won't even mention my website or anything, stuff like that. But about a year ago, I was like, I need to get back on the 600 bus. We need to get up to 600 again, because once I started getting the 600 in my hands, it was a lot easier to start training for something higher.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no way that I'm going to shoot for a 700-pound bench unless I'm seriously been in the 600s for a while. I'm in the 400s right now. So just to give you some background on where I'm at with my training, I mean, I literally just did like it was 485 yesterday. My God. So that's my week. So yeah, 485 yesterday, and I was shooting for 500 possibly. It was more like it would have been off program. But for a while there, I was just shooting for numbers, and I needed to have a program to go off of. So I called my old coach and said, hey, Josh, I want to shoot for some stuff. I don't know. I literally don't even know where I'm at right now. This is the last time I benched. It was this and it was that. And it was basically, I did 500 for 2 about a year and a half ago. And then I did 405 for like 8. And that was a bad day for me because I was mad that I wasn't able to get up to 6. So I called my coach and I was like, hey, bro, I don't know what the hell. Like, I need to get back on the horse here. And I told him what I did. And so the next week it was like, all right, let's go for 500 for 3. Let's just progress. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, I struggled to get 1. And that's when I started going, Jesus, I'm like messing with my head here. Like, I'm starting to realize that 500 pounds is 500 freaking pounds. It wasn't like a warm-up weight anymore.
Yeah.
And then I started getting in my head every single time I thought about it. And it was, for months, I was just like, God dang, that's a lot of freaking weight. So my training actually started going backwards. Like, I was sliding literally backwards. And I was doing it to myself. I'm not naive to think, oh, well, I wasn't eating right and I wasn't sleeping. I mean, I was literally just caving in from within. So my physical training was responding the exact same way. It was just a mirror of what was going on in my head. So I was waking up, I was depressed. I didn't want to be, I didn't want to work out. I didn't want to do anything. So when I got in there, I just did the motions. And when you get up to 400 freaking pounds, you got to bring it a little bit. And I didn't want to bring it. I was just like, whatever, get the music on. I got stuff to do. I got stuff in my head. And then I would fail on like 365. And then, the next week, if I've got 500 that's proposed on the bar, there's no way I'm going 500 if I fail 365. So it was just one week after another. I was like, dude. And I just stopped caring about my workouts as much. I wasn't excited like, oh yeah, next week I got 620 on the bar. Yay, next week I got 315 freaking week. And that's what I was thinking. And I was beating the hell out of myself for months. And I was doing this quietly. I mean, I didn't even tell my wife. Like I was caving in from the inside. Like Instagram didn't know. I mean, I'm sure people figured it out after a while. They were like, where's this guy been? Like he's posting stupid lifts of him doing 135 for reps. Like, what are you hiding? Like you just were doing 550 for 3 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden you're backed off and you're doing a deload every 2 weeks. And it took me right out. Yeah, it was literally 1 year to the date, because I remember when the date was coming around, I was like, it's been a year since my stroke and I haven't posted on YouTube in a year. And I've got all these subscribers that literally have like come on board, and I'm just like bailing on them. I'm like, dude, I feel horrible. I got to put something out there. I mean, if they're watching Instagram, it's one thing, but that's a content creator. You got to, know where your audience is. And I was like, well, I got to put something out. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to tell everybody what happened, just kind of go through what I literally just did, just kind of in my own way. The first time I had to do it, I didn't know what the heck to say. And I was a little bit embarrassed because I had dropped the ball on my health, and, all this had come raining down on me. And then I'm also kind of like, okay, the world is looking at me like, you going to quit now? Because that's what I would do. And I'm like, you damn right I'm not. Like, no, of course I'm not going to quit. Like, and that started getting pissed off at myself. I'm like, dude, you need to get your ass up. I started beating myself up because I was being such a little punk. And I was like, dude, where is the James Strickland that we all know? Like, and I started like talking to myself like a kid, like, dude, you're a bum right now, man. Like you have all this talent and you're worried about only being able to bench 450. Like, what a bum. Like, and I started just kicking myself like, you're right, man. I actually have a really good gift just as it is right now. Even if I never could bench, whatever weight, and just call it an arbitrary number up, because it's really all it is.
Yeah.
Then would I still be happy in life? And I'm like, yeah, like I've always said that. But then I started second guessing that and going, would I really though? Like if my arms were cut off tomorrow and I couldn't bench ever again in my whole life, would I really be satisfied with that? Let's be real. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I started going, is my image too tied to benching and to being Swimhack? And I'm like, that's not what I want. I like that, but that's not what I want. Like I want to be known for so much more than just that. So I started kind of slowing down and going, okay, maybe this is a freaking midlife crisis, because I'm 44 now. And I'm like, maybe I'm just not cut out to be that animalistic, ballistic lifter ever again. Maybe I've slowed down and this is kind of my twilight years. And all the thoughts. And part of me is wanting to go, that's probably an easier way to just do it and just live and have, be happy and just live with my family and just do what I want to do and not have to worry about lifting heavy all the time for show, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit nice to think about it that way. But then I go, wait a minute. I still am not addressing the issue. Like, how many people on the planet right now are even looking at possibly benching 500 pounds right now? Like, of the best people that I've ever met, I honestly could only name a handful that are even in that level. And these are like among the best lifters in the world. So it's not bad company to be in right now. So then I start kind of going, okay, are you just settling for that? Because at one point you wanted to be the best ever, and now you're settling to be the best among the top 10, top 20. Is that good enough for you? Honestly, yes. I mean, damn right. That's freaking top 20 of all time. Or I think I'm number 14. I don't
16.
16. Okay, yeah. Cool. So is that bench or is that
bench?
Okay. I mean,
I checked before.
It's not honestly what I want, but shit, I started out at like fucking 20 million. So I could be, number 16. That's pretty cool to me. I mean, if I was standing in a room with 20 of the strongest individuals ever to walk the planet with bench and I was in there, that's a good feeling. That's a small group.
Yeah. And I think kind of more into I kind of go into what I was going to say, but as far as like a 500-pound bench, I personally only know like maybe 3 people, and I'm in the world very heavy. I mean, obviously, I've had people on the show that are up in the 600s. Like I've had you, I've had Hornstra, I've had Leroy, like the monster benches. But in terms of like actual personal friends, I only know like 3 or 4 people that can bench 500 raw. So it's definitely not something that, like, in your perspective, it's obviously it's a setback for you, but it's a setback to a still an elite level of a bench. But as far as kind of the mental side of things, obviously I know it's tough to kind of be going through different things and cleaning up your diet and things like that, and kind of losing some of the, not necessarily drive, but kind of that same like intensity that you might have had back in the day. But I think it's important to know that your brain can't distinguish like mental stress versus physical stress. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really take into account when they're training, and being able to kind of control those outside factors and reducing your stress, not only with your CNS fatigue, but your life stresses outside, is going to put a huge performance hit on you.
Yeah, for sure. I have to say that would probably be the single biggest factor for me, probably for the stroke itself, but also just for the whole setback. Like literally the last couple of years, I just lost my traction, and everything that I used to hold dear, which what I had this false sense of security that I had it all because I had this stuff.
Yeah.
And what I really learned is that all that junk doesn't even matter. Like 675 doesn't matter. Like I had to really look at myself and go, like, what are we really doing this for? Like, what's the whole point of this? And I had to go through the dark valley of like essentially going, what if I just quit and push back right now? Is anybody really going to care? Like, could I quit quietly and nobody would ever ask questions? I'm sure somebody would go, hey, whatever happened to that one swim guy? I'm sure, but I don't want to be remembered for the guy who freaking broke 700 pounds under 300 pounds body weight. Like that's a cool thing. Don't get me wrong, but that's not legacy material for me. I'm just a different breed. Now, mind you, that doesn't mean that I still don't want to do it. Like, that doesn't mean it's still not the goal.
Yeah.
I'm different. Remember, like, even though I'm freaking got my ass kicked and I'm bloodied and I'm just depressed and I'm down on my luck and I'm literally like pistol in mouth, like I don't like this life, I will still fuck up a 700-pound bench press. Like, that's me.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you don't know me. So that's when I finally got that fire. I started, and it was honestly one day I was just warming up and I'm like, you know what? This is a switch in my brain right now that's messing with me. It's just like the devil has somehow gotten into my brain and you know what? I'm going to destroy the Swimhack mentality, and we're going to freaking put you on your butt, and you're going to have to figure out how to get back to where you're at without any help. And, I was warming up and 135 still feels heavy. I'm like, God dang, what the heck, man? CNS is just not on fire like it used to be. And 225 would go up, and then all of a sudden it's like, for me, I jump in kilos, so I pretty much just go straight to like 320.
Yep.
And that's where it's a significant amount of a jump that my CNS now is kind of at a detriment. It's like, this sucks. And it freaking flew up. And on video, I was like, Jesus, it was like flawless. And it was like air. And I went, that needs to be what 500 feels like real quick. And so that's what I've been basically, I'm hacking my brain. And this is really where the swim hack really gets weird, because it's not really what it was meant for, but I'm having to literally hack my neurological responses to how I respond to weight and how my CNS almost at like the cellular level, where I'm like, okay, I'm stressed out about something right now, but boom, smelling salts goes in, the weight's here. I'm just trusting my training and literally just go with it. So
yeah, and hopefully maybe even something as small as just this episode, or some people maybe reaching out will kind of keep that spark lit, maybe give you some extra gasoline in that fire too. I think before we kind of wrap things up here, we'll just do a little bit of an overview of kind of your bench programs, maybe kind of give us like a quick synopsis of maybe what that's like and kind of what helped you develop that.
Sure. Well, so I'm pretty humble about my programs just because there's so many programs out there. And honestly, I mean, just Google it.
Yeah.
And honestly, any program is probably better than no program.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at doing a program and you're wondering which one's the best one, just get on one. Get on one. If it doesn't matter if it's mine, if it's Jeremy Horncher's, if it's Josh Bryant's, anybody, pay $10 for it, but put some thought into it. Do some research on the programs too, and just make sure that it's going to match what you have going on. Because the biggest questions I have for me is, can I do it with because they see it as a bench only program, which it's just the bench portion of your programming. So if you buy the bench program and you're doing a squat program with somebody else, you should be just fine. I mean, obviously you don't want to be doing bench and squat the same day, and unless you're doing like SBD days, but you can work it out. But the whole point of the programs is honestly just because I was doing some coaching and I didn't have time to really coach as many people as I wanted to, but I wanted to put my knowledge out there. Not that I felt like I was the best one to do it, but I know my journey. And sometimes I'm like, well, if I can save somebody else time for, the next 3 years that they're just working on something small, whatever that number is for them, it's a big deal to them. And if I can share some of my programming, the knowledge that I've used throughout the years, even when I wasn't at the level I'm at now. And that's the other question I get is it for elite level benchers? Honestly, I made it for the regular guys, the gym bros, because I wanted to sell a lot of them. So from a business sense, it's got my expertise from elite level, but it also is more of a business sense. Like I want to make sure that this applies to just about any lifter, female, male, equipped, non-equipped, whatever you're doing. The principles are sound. And that's really what all my programs are. It's literally just, if you go out and just study sound programming, you don't need my programs. If you're looking for that in a box, then that's what I'm giving you is all that knowledge wrapped up. Here's 6 months of training. If you follow this, short of a guarantee, you're going to get something out of it. I promise you that. But are you going to gain, pounds on your bench? Look at my website. You can literally read thousands of real testimonials, 275 to 315, 350 to 405, or just numbers. And these are normal things. And it's like, well, I tried the program. I didn't like the volume, but I got a PR. Well, who cares if you didn't like the volume? Did you get what you wanted? Great. So negative reviews, even good reviews. So
yeah. What is the frequency for the bench?
So I like to do twice a week. Now, if we're doing like a bench only setup, like with coaching or even the programs, it's normally like 2 bench days. One is super heavy, like a heavy day. One is like your lighter day or speed day. And then I have one dedicated like overhead press, shoulder accessories, things like that. So you can have potentially 3 upper days, but one program has it on a 3-day split and the other one is 2 days. So it kind of meets the demand.
Yeah. And as far as maybe the speed work day, is the term speed work is kind of like a, what's the word? Not a trigger word, but it's definitely a controversial word. So, and I know some people kind of apply it differently. So what are the ways that you kind of apply it?
Well, let's just put it this way. This is speed is definitely the time under tension being taken out of it. I want you to get in and out as quickly as possible, get in and out of that set. And I want you to feel the weight, but I don't want it to fatigue you so much because you're just sitting there holding the weight the whole time. But it's definitely good for tendons and joints. You're not having all this pressure on you all the time. But the more reps you can get in, the more volume you can get in. So,
yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things for me. Like I was touching on very early on the episode of, I think the best thing you can do for bench. Obviously, you have to train your body to be under heavier loads, but just hammering that volume, your upper body responds so well to just a high amount of volume in terms of bench press.
For sure. And then the other thing that people forget is that accessories are so key. I mean, I'm just looking at something I have here by my computer, and it's literally just like a stress ball. And I'll grab, it's not that hard to squeeze that. But if you take 2 fingers or even 1 finger, I mean, you're working all of this right here. And if this tree trunk here can hold that weight and you're working on all those little stabilizers, then all the little things that you do, and that's just something stupid that I do during the day. But like when I go in and do triceps, I'm hammering the hell out of the triceps. I want to make sure that they are ground out so that the next time that I get under that weight, they are trained well enough to lift it. So it's literally focusing on the exact weakness that is causing me to not progress. I focus more on that weakness and just scrub it out. I'm like, nah, this weakness is going to get out of my way. Either that, or I'm going to make it fun to do the lift, and not be sidetracked by that one particular weakness that's happening.
Yeah, and for me, after I just did my first multiply meet, and I think for me, something that I noticed was being in the shirt. Obviously, you're handling heavier loads, but that tricep overload and that tricep work, like even the first day back, my raw bench is already better than it's probably ever been. So I guess maybe a question for you is, have you ever kind of thought about throwing on a shirt and trying that out?
Absolutely. Honestly, now more than ever, just because I feel like this is appropriate to say that I'm coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of been one of my things that I thought about is, if I ever were to tear a pec or, God forbid, something crazy, catastrophic happens, which, I think a stroke's pretty catastrophic. And I'm like, okay, I just want to move weight. Like, I don't care. Obviously, I set out a goal to do 700, and I'll just go on record to say, look, I feel like I kind of regret putting that out there and saying, road to 700 pounds. Because now, like, I got to put my money where my mouth is, or die trying. Like, and that's kind of sucky to me because I'm not having the fun that I used to have with it. Like, I was chasing numbers because it was fun. Now I'm just chasing numbers because I want to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
Screw that. I want to get back to having fun. So literally that's what I've had to do. And I'm touching on it again is basically it's not the sob story of Swimhack. This is the comeback story of, like, I'm already coming back, and you can just look at my training for the last 6 months and just say, okay, you've obviously gone from this level to this level in a short amount of time. How'd you do that? And part of it was a strategic business decision on my programs, because I wanted to be like, hey, I can use this program to get myself back and use it to promote the program while I'm going through it, and I can actually put my money where my mouth is there.
Yeah.
But I honestly didn't know what to expect, because I was like, this is going to be easy. I built the freaking program. It's going to be stupid. It's going to be just a clear ploy that I'm trying to, promote the product. And so I started it out, and I'm like, Jesus, that's going to put me in like September-ish when I finally, go for a PR. So the way my programs work is you start out with an arbitrary number. Like, I want to know approximately what you think your 1 rep max is, because I have to have something to do some preliminary math to figure out where you're at. Like, I don't know what you even can do. So if I'm like, hey man, let's go work out, and I put 225 on the bar, you might be like, holy crap, bro, I can't do that for reps. Like, no. So for me to figure out, I'm like, okay, well, let's lay down and do a 1 rep. What can you work up to? 165? Oh shit. Okay. Let's put 95 on the bar. Let's do 8 reps.
Yeah.
Okay. You got 3 out of 8. Shit. You can't do that many. All right. Let's back it down. Let's do 80. All right. 80. You got 8 reps. Cool. We'll do 3 sets of that. Get some volume in. Then we switch it up and do something else. But the next time we might be like, okay, you did 85 for 8 reps last week for 3 sets. It moved pretty easy. We're going to go 95, or we're going to go 90, and we'll just kind of auto-regulate, what we can there. But the whole point is just making you stronger than what you were before. And if it takes 6 years to do that, it takes 6 years. Some people, they can do progressive overload and get results immediately, and they've gained 50 pounds in their bench in 2 weeks. And you're like, what the hell's happening? But same guy who just jumped on gear, who has literally never maxed out in his life, so he's fresh. He's been training super freaking volume for a long time. He's finally peaked. Boom. So you and him, you're not the same lifter.
Yeah.
So that's why all that stuff matters. But
so I think we can kind of wrap things up here. So I'll ask you my final question. If you could give a new lifter or someone going into their first meet a word of advice, what would that be?
I'm going to be cliche here and go and say have fun. But honestly, stressing out about whatever the number is going to be is not fun. From experience, my first few meets, now I'm not going to lie, I did have fun. Don't get me wrong. I did have fun, but I had a lot more fun when I stopped worrying about the numbers and I just started going in and saying, I don't care what I do today. I'm just hanging out with a bunch of guys lifting weights and freaking flexing. That's cool. Let's go. And it became just, I wanted to travel. I wanted a place to go and hang out with some guys. We all just had similar mindsets and we could lift a lot of weight. And it just, it was a fun time. So I would say, don't worry, learn the rules, but have fun.
Yeah. I think, it's great to have a goal in mind, but not get too hung up on the numbers. We're all here to have fun. Well, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you very much.